Hmm.
And action. Welcome back, fellow aviation lovers and enthusiasts. My name is Infinite.flight, and I'm bringing you back to the Frontier Virtual podcast. We're about to launch into episode 11, which coincidentally is our only second live podcast. If you haven't, you can check out the previous one, episode 10, our golden moments. That was a very fun podcast to do. We had a lot of viewers coming on, and the live chat was amazing. So thank you to all who made the last one a success. So if you're here listening now, and if you're going to be listening later on during the podcast, thank you so much. All right, we're just going to start off here talking about what we do. Matt, how have you been today?
I've been okay.
Good.
Pretty Maddie.
Pretty Maddie. How has your life been? Have you because I know you've been doing a lot of stuff outside of aviation, so just
I have.
what's your daily life? Yeah, I know you say you don't have a life, but even you have
Okay,
to have a
so
life.
I wake up. Last thing, I always eat a big bowl of hash browns with lots of ketchup.
People,
Um, I I go back to bed. Wake up around noonish. Just kidding. 'Cause I get up. I do eat hash browns though, and but I am going to a high school prep class right now, which is okay. It's all right. It's what you'd expect. But then then I go back, I play some flight simulators, I have some fun. Then I go back to bed. Then I eat more hash browns.
Nice. And if you could confirm the rumor for me, have you completely quit Infinite Flight?
Yes.
Okay, and the only reason I asked that is because I had several people from the last podcast ask me, is it true? Has Matt really, transitioned to X-Plane 11?
And that's my computer. That's my computer. For some reason, dies, and I'm unable to fix it. I will not be going back to Infinite Flight anytime soon.
We're gonna have a lot of people now head over to your house with jars of water and just dump them all over your machine.
I have a backup. It's okay.
Don't worry, we know where the backup is. Anyway, we're just gonna pull right along into here as soon as I get this out. Just stand by for me.
That's what she said.
Matt, you are fired. And trust me, I've always wanted to say that, but I'm intentionally saying that now. All right. Okay, so Matt, I did want to kind of how to word this.
Am I in trouble?
Yes, you're in trouble, and I just wanted to make sure everybody else could witness your trouble. No, I'm just kidding.
Okay.
I did tell you a while yesterday I think it was, about my trip into Houston and out of Houston, and you told me to kind of save the discussion for this live chat. For anybody who doesn't know and who didn't check out the forums the last couple of days,
I bet the trip kind of flew by.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a good joke. I have
That's
to
a
give
good
it to
joke.
you.
Good joke, guys. We need a new co-CEO. Anyway, the
I just winged my puns.
This is what we have to put up every single time we talk.
I'll go ahead and throttle down the jokes, okay?
Make sure you break it to a stop. Does that work?
I'll go ahead and gear up the fun today.
I had that one in my head. I literally was thinking that right then and there. That was horrible of you, stealing that. And again, guys, if you are watching, feel free to drop a hello in the live chat below.
I think we have one person. We have one person watching, although it could be my other account. I'm not sure.
You set all your accounts to watch it. That's nice. I did want, so I'm just gonna kind of give the little explanation on what happened. We were coming into approach to Denver, landing 3-5 left, and there was what the weather later clarified as a severe weather storm outside of Denver. The turbulence was horrible. We were just jolting all over the place. There were lightning flashes outside.
I would love that.
I loved it, but the kid next to me was like wailing his eyes out, and he was like an 18-year-old.
I'll punch him in the face.
Tell him, you're ruining the show.
So that means you're calling yourself a kid if he's the same age as you, right?
Well, there.
I never clarified I was an adult. Let's just point that out.
He's not mentally.
Yeah.
Well, nobody is mentally, so. Oh my God.
We were coming in. We were about 100 feet above the ground. You know, we were coming in, and I realized that we were approaching the ground at a speed that I've not seen an airplane approach the ground. So the lady who's sitting across the aisle from me turned to me and she was like, you know, this seems really fast. Are they gonna do? You know, are they gonna try it again? And I said, you know, I don't know. You know, who knows? And as we came into land, we were coming in. We definitely slowed down by the time we reached like 20 feet above the runway. But by the time we got above the runway, there was some sort of, I don't know if it was just the weather or something, but all of a sudden we were at 20 feet, and all of a sudden we just dropped like a stone. We just dropped onto that runway, and I wish I had it on video. I had my iPad and my camera out, and I could have been recording it, but I was just too focused on what was going on outside. But as soon as, it just jolted the entire aircraft. The wings outside were flexing up and down extremely, crazily. It was insane. And the whole cabin was just full of people screaming. And I grabbed onto the seat in front of me because, like...
Did you brace, really?
No, as in just like one hand out, because they hit the ground, and then all of a sudden we were like slowing down. And so my body was still going forward. Okay. But we hit that, and then I put my arm out just to kind of keep myself in my seat because we were going so fast. And the guy next to me said, "We're gonna crash! Oh my gosh, we're gonna crash!" Because he saw me put out my arm like that, and so
people knew you were like experienced with that thing, right?
Well, I was. It didn't help that I was wearing like an aviation T-shirt. People throughout both the flight there and the flight back were asking me questions. Including the flight attendants, which I was impressed with. Like they would trust me enough.
What does your shirt look like? Explain that.
It's just a black T-shirt with the logo of an airplane on the front, and it says something along the lines of, of course, this is what it says. It says, I don't ever, I don't look up at the sky whenever I hear an airplane. And then it has a few dots, and it says, Oh wait, yes I do.
Oh.
So Mike got the question in chat. Could it have been some wind shear or a microburst? I know a lot about aviation weather.
Go ahead.
Okay, so I'll explain this to him. Both those are very common in storms. So like Robert said, it's definitely possible. The way they stand on the ground, I think they either could have floated, being they did not. The flare was not well. Which Robert, can you clarify, was the flare good in the landing?
It was extremely dark out, so I can't say for positive, but I will say it felt like we didn't even flare. Like it felt like all three gears hit the ground at the same time. And I only know that because the front of the aircraft was shaking just as much as the back of it was. So I don't know if they just didn't flare enough, if they were attempting to flare, but the microburst shoved them down. I don't know what the issue was.
So sometimes, occasionally, the pilots will purposely have a really hard landing to test the gear. But in this case of emergency, I think it probably was a microburst. In terms of a wind shear is more horizontal movement. It's wind.
Right.
It's wind deviation greater than 30 knots. So you think it was turbulent. It probably was a mix of both wind shear and microbursts, which microbursts have taken down planes before.
Yes, and there's actually on an air crash investigation site on YouTube.
It's a Delta.
There's one that they were shoved down,
right,
which is interesting. But I actually looked back, and I couldn't find any evidence of like that. But there's a high chance that could have been it, and I just didn't get enough research done. But we hit the ground, and we went probably about the distance between one high speed to the next, so it wasn't that far. And then all of a sudden we were just going back up. It was like a slightly nose pitch, so it was less of a pitch than on takeoff, but it was a definite noticeable. All three gears were off the ground, and the guy next to me, because he and I had been talking throughout the flight. So he knew that I was at least somewhat experienced in this. He turned to me and he said, what's the issue? Are we going to divert? Because he didn't really know about, proper formal operations in certain events. So he asked me that, and I said, well, it looks like we're doing a go around. It looks like maybe the winds are too much or something that the pilot. And then as soon as I said pilot, the plane just came back down again and slammed on the runway. And I actually, the lady who I had been talking to across the aisle actually lost her phone. She had been holding it like she was, doing some sort of thing using her data while we were landing, and she managed to hold on to it the first, but the second bump, it actually flew up and over her seat and landed in the aisle in front of her. Robert, and at that time, none of us really cared. Robert, yeah.
Her phone, her grip must have been pretty phony.
Yes, it must have been very phony. Anyway, but yes, those jokes, Matt. Spare me. But yes, we went up, we came back down, and then we went another 2 or so high speeds before we even started slowing down. Like, they didn't put out the reverse thrusters, they didn't apply any sort of means to stop. And so for a while I thought, okay, are they speeding up so that they can take off again? Is there just such a severe microburst or something that it's just not letting them take off, so they're trying to get further down the runway to take off or something? But maybe 5 or 6 seconds after we'd come back down the second time, I saw, because my window was right behind the engine, so I could see the reverse thrusters deploy, and it took us the entire length of runway 35 left. I'm not exactly sure how long it is.
I'll tell you that right now. Hold on.
Okay, but it took us the entire. We exited because they turned left, so I could look out my window and see how much further the runway was. We exited at the very last possible chance on the left to get out of runway 35 left. That's how long it took the pilots to slow the airplane down. And I seriously think we were coming in faster than we should have been, which might have played a part in how long it took them to stop. Go ahead, Matt.
Okay, so runway 35 left is approximately 12,000 feet or 2.3 miles.
Wow. And how long, and just to put this in proportion, how long on average would it take an Airbus 321 to stop, like on a typical flight?
And if they could easily land with the lowest braking power on average, they could easily stop in 7,000, 8,000 feet.
Yeah, and it took them the entire distance.
12,000.
Because I was, and I contemplate all of this now that it's over, but I think we were still going even, fast for ground power after we taxied off the highway. The pilot was thinking, we have to get off here now, despite our speed. If we keep going, we're going to overrun. Yeah.
So I thought the pilot, I've had this in other simulators before. It's pretty much what you normally have to do in that case situation is you would have max braking power, full auto brake, because it's obviously going to be slippery. You're going to need to stop fast. It's common sense. Which the Airbus A320 can stop in 4,000 feet or 5,000 feet in that type of conditions. So they can stop very quick. So they took well over 300% longer runway than they needed to.
I know, and I could feel how hard they were braking, because the entire aircraft, all the belongings underneath were sliding forward. People were leaning way forward because of the amount of pressure that was being put on them. It was insane. So then we taxied off, and as soon as we exited the high speed, we made the left. I believe we made the left on the mic. And I only know this because I know the airport so well. But we made a left on mic and we stopped. And we stopped for 5 minutes. And the whole time people were, quote, recovering from the landing, kind of talking to each other oh my gosh, what was that? And at that point I actually saw blue and red flashes outside. And I was confused at first. And then a fire truck pulled up on Lima. They pulled up parallel to our wing, and they escorted us all the way down to Mike, and we exited out onto to Alpha Alpha, because we took gate A36. And for those of you listening, you can just pull up a ground chart at Denver, and you can follow this along. But we pulled out onto the last high speed on a Mike. Fire truck escorted us all the way down to Mike, Lima, and then Alpha Alpha to the ramp. And then so that was weird, and people were talking about that. Why would we need a fire truck to escort us down when we're on the ground, we're under very slow speeds? And I talked to the captain about this afterwards, so I'll get to that point why they had a fire truck there. But we pulled out onto the ramp. We passed gates A60 and A52, which are Spirit Airline gates, and
Robert,
we stopped. Yes.
if you want, I could easily give you I could easily find the actual recording of ATC if you give me a time and date.
Will do. As soon as we finish this, I'll give that to you.
Roger.
So we pulled up. We were short of the Sky Bridge, which, if you're familiar with Denver, you know that connects the Jepson terminal to terminal or Concourse A. And we sat there for 30 minutes. And about 20 minutes in, the pilot finally came over and said, guys, we're sorry about this huge delay in getting you to your gate. And, we know that there are several people on board who have tight connections to Salt Lake City and to Phoenix and to Portland. So, if you could just, when we park at the gate, let them get up first, blah, blah, blah. But during this entire wait, there was a smell of fuel that was slowly creeping into the entire aircraft. And I've never, in my entire life, I've never had an aircraft, the interior smell so putrid of fuel. And people started complaining. And there was a kid behind us who turned around to his mom. He's like, Mommy, what's the bad smell? And the flight attendant came on and said, everybody just remain in your seats. We know that this is an unusual, and that was her word, unusual landing. But we need you to stay in your seats because by federal law, we can't move until all passengers are seated. So we finally pulled up to the gate. We let all the connections off. The guy next to me was actually connecting to Salt Lake City. So I had to get up and let him squeeze by and sit back down. I finally got into the terminal, and the captain was there because they were crossing out the flight crew for a new flight crew. And I actually walked over to the captain and I said, that was one hell of a landing. And he said, he kind of rolled his eyes. And he was like, you're telling me. And then he made the joke. He was like, that newbie first officer, man, he's got a lot under his belt. But I found it later it was him who landed. And so I asked him, and I'm sorry I'm talking the entire time, not letting any of you guys talk. I just want to get the story out. And if you go on the forums, you can see my abridged version of it. But I asked him, I was like, what happened? And he said, we were coming out of 100 feet. And that's how I got the numbers 120 feet above the runway because of him. He said we were at 100 feet and we were getting this really, really bad wind shear, like 35 knots worth of wind shear. And we were debating about, should we actually, do a go around? But the captain decided, no, we're going to land this thing. And he said that that as they were just about above the runway and, right before the, retard thing that everybody knows from Airbus came on, all of a sudden they just lost altitude. They dropped, I think he said it was like 10 feet. So it wasn't a huge amount, but they dropped onto the runway.
That's wind shear. Yep.
It was bad. He said they dropped onto the runway, and at that point, and he had to make it. He was flying the connecting flight to Portland, so I didn't get to hear the whole story because he had to rush off. But he was kind enough to just stop quick and tell me. But he said that when they hit onto the runway, he reached for the reverse thrusters when the aircraft actually pitched back up, and he found out later it was the first officer who had pitched up, who had decided out of his own free will that he was going to try to do a go around. So that hitting the ground and going up was not a result of the aircraft actually hitting the ground and bouncing back up. It was actually the first officer had decided to go around. But he said as the first officer was pulling up, they just got slammed onto the ground a second time, and both of them decided it wasn't worth it to try and going around. So they just applied full brakes. And then at that point, he had to run off because his first officer was calling him. But so that's what I got for, because I did get a lot of messages on the forums asking me, we heard your story in the forums. Can you give them more detail? And so if you're not watching this now, I'll just recommend this on the forum and you can find out the full story. But that was by far the worst and most exciting landing. We got to have the extremely bad landing, turbulence the whole way down, fire trucks escorting us to the gate, the smell of fuel in the cabin, plus the whole thing of people having to make connections. It was an absolute hell in that cabin. There was I don't know how the flight attendants contained any order in that cabin. Everybody was shouting and talking over each other, so it was impressive.
Sounds
and
like
that
a
was
scary situation there.
Well, I was legitimately scared for not for very long, maybe like 20 seconds. I was actually feeling nervous, okay, we didn't make it up. We started going up, but we came back down. Are we actually in an emergency situation? So that was a little nerve-wracking for me. But now that I've heard the pilot's story of it, I've heard, I'm at home, I'm safe. It actually turns into a really fascinating story that you can talk to others with. And since I've been talking for a million years, I'm gonna ask first Matt and then Daniel. Matt, have you ever, in any situation, experienced any sort of somewhat, emergency ever in flight?
I would not say emergency. The only thing I've ever had is a go around once in Minneapolis. So that's it.
What about you, Daniel? And I know that you're a private pilot or a trainee as well, so you can include any general aviation in your count.
Well, first off, I was just kind of confused about the fuel situation. Is that like something separate going on there? I mean, like between the weather and then the braking situation and the fuel, how are they all connected together?
I think.
Okay. Go ahead.
Did he say it was fuel to you?
The pilot?
Yeah.
Oh.
He didn't specify that, but he hinted at that because he told me, because and I forgot to say this. He explained why the fire truck was there. He said that he requested emergency vehicles just for caution. Like, it wasn't an emergency, but he said that his head flight attendant radioed in that the cabin smelt of fuel, and so just as a precaution in case, in the very rare event that something caught on fire or something, he wanted to have a fire truck there on standby. But he said there weren't any alerts, there weren't any emergencies in the cockpit, nothing out of the ordinary. So that's why I didn't turn into anything.
I think
why there's a fuel smell.
I think it may have been,
I don't either.
I think it may have been hot brakes, actually.
Yeah, but
that could really do it, I think.
How does that relate to the fuel, though? That's what I don't understand.
I think the smell might have just been burning rubber. They got mistaken for fuel.
Right, because
hot brakes would not surprise me at all.
He did not say it was fuel. He just said that because of the smell in the cabin that the flight attendant told him, and the flight attendant used the word fuel. He said he decided to call for emergency vehicles just in case.
Although it is also possible that because of the two separate occasions of really hard landings, that when the fuel lines had a rupture or something, a leak.
Which I first thought there was a leak because the whole cabin just stank of the smell of jet fuel. And I told my parents this after I got home. I was like, just until an hour ago, I really enjoyed the smell of jet fuel. Now it's whenever I smell it, I'm reminded of this landing because for 30 minutes we had to sit there with the smell of what could have been fuel for just compacted along with very nervous people. It was a situation that could have potentially gotten volatile if people started freaking out, because it was an abnormal landing. Definitely,
it's probably about as close to an emergency as you'll actually get without actually being in one.
I know. That's because, again, he said the captain said there were no alarms, there weren't anything indicating any problem. That's why he wasn't too concerned. When he talked to me, he was extremely nonchalant. He was very, he told a few jokes, and I don't know if he was just trying to, like, oh great, here's a passenger who wants to know all this. But I think he legitimately wasn't concerned about it. Like, it wasn't something that frightened him about the landing.
That could have been he could also be like me, where a lot of times when I'm nervous or I'm embarrassed, like that, I will often make just like really random jokes, like not like puns. That's just my sense of humor.
Right.
Like, random jokes. I will deal with that stuff, with issues, with jokes.
Oh, see, and I'm like the opposite. I kind of shut down whenever I'm in a situation that is like that. And I actually did I sat in the gate area for like 3 or 4 minutes just to kind of recollect my thoughts, because I like had a race. My heart was racing. I was just trying to go through the events, and like, you're on the ground, nothing's wrong. It was just a very, very bumpy landing. That's it.
Do you think an emergency. The first officer got in trouble at all for that?
I don't know. Like I said, the captain, kind of joked around like, oh, the first officer, he's such a noob. He just planted that thing down. He didn't have it. But he kind of made it sound like he landed it. So I don't legitimately know. He may have been making it vague so that I didn't complain. I don't know. I don't know. But yeah, that was, I've flown Frontier this year now 7 times, and that was definitely a way, and I like to put it this way, that was one smashing way to enter college.
And that's like the one landing you didn't get on film. Isn't that unfortunate?
I know. Well, I did not get the landing from Phoenix, which was the flight in July. I did that flight. I didn't get that on film, but every flight before that, I got the landing on film. So I was extremely bummed out because if I had been sitting in the window seat, I was in the aisle seat. If I had been sitting in the window seat, I 100% would have gotten that, because I would have wanted to show the lightning and the turbulence. I would have definitely got that on film if I had been sitting window. And I actually had bought the seat for the window, and last minute I changed to an aisle because I was like, I'm tired of not being able to use the lavatory because people are sleeping and I don't want to crawl over them. So I was like, I've got enough footage of the day. I'm just going to sit in the aisle, just kind of relax and not have to worry about climbing over people or making people move. And to this day, I know it's only 2 days later, but to this day, I sincerely regret making that decision.
Okay, and Robert, did you have a flight number for that flight at all?
I always know the flights up until I take them and then they just fly out the window. I believe it was flight 245, Frontier flight 245. It landed, I think, and this is just a guesstimate, but it landed at 9:13 p.m. I do believe on Saturday night, Saturday the 5th.
The 5th, so 9:15 p.m.
9:13 to 9:15.
Okay, so you said
they landed 3-5 right, 3-5 left. My apologies.
9:15, and what was the did that in Zulu 9:15? So that would be you're an hour behind me. So okay, hold on. So that'd be 10:15 my time. That'd be around 2:15 Zulu.
And like he told me that it wasn't an emergency, so he didn't declare anything. So I wouldn't be surprised if nothing comes up.
No. Like I have access to literally all the random ATC feeds for the past several weeks.
Okay, because I don't know. Maybe if you could hear him asking for an emergency vehicle, I don't know if that would be something that you could hear. But that was a flight for the ages, that's for sure.
Still not like me having to land with a flat tire. General aviation.
All right, now it's your turn. Tell us that story.
Okay, so I'm not going to give locations and everything because this is general aviation, so everything's a lot more local. But I was on approach. I already knew I had a flat tire from the airport I was at, so we were kind of rushed over to land at our home airport. So when we landed, everything seemed fine at first. When we tried to exit off, the tire just gave way. So they basically actually closed the airport for about 10 minutes for us. We had to push the plane back into the hangar, which was quite a walk.
Nice. And did that affect future flights?
No, not at all.
And I'm again, you fly the Technam, correct? That
is correct.
Okay. I mean, I know by your name, but I didn't know if that specific day had been as a separate aircraft.
No, it's the same one, my usual.
Interesting. Thank you. So I know that was on my to-do list of stuff to talk about, and I kind of made it last for like a ton. So I'm gonna while I finish hacking my lungs out, Matt, did you have anything to add about the ATC maybe that you found, or do you have? Is that going to take a while for you to find that?
You said 9:15, right? Your time.
I believe the actual time was 9:13 because it was such a weird time that it stuck in my head. But
Okay, got it. Yeah, I think to calculate this to Zulu. I'm tired. I can't do it in my head.
Is there a website or something that you get this from?
Yeah, Live ATC.
Yeah, liveatc.net has ATC archives in increments of 30 minutes typically. It's pretty cool. Like I love listening to myself talk. Like I'll go on a flight and then talk to approach. I'll go home and pull it up. It's really neat to hear myself talking on it. That's what I use it for.
Okay, so it'll be around 0313 Zulu on the 5th. Okay, 0313 Zulu. Got it.
All right, that would be Denver Tower, I believe.
Yep, Smith. Let's find it. Okay. Yep. Okay. So you guys can talk. I'm gonna go mute for a second and try to find it for you.
Yep, you're fine. So yeah. How has private flying been going for you, Daniel?
Excellent. Look forward to every flight. However, with the heat index recently, I haven't been able to fly quite as much as I wanted to. It's been like over 100 sometimes.
Yeah, I was down in Florida. It was only sorry, down in Texas. It was 92, and up here in Denver, it's been like, I don't know,
Yeah,
70 or 80.
In general aviation, I mean, you're just roasting up there. See, the thing is with general aviation, everything has to be like perfect. It cannot be foul weather. It can't be too rainy. The visibility has to be good. Clouds can't be too low. And I mean, now it can't even be too hot outside. It's really restricting.
Has it ever gotten to the point where it's so hot that you can't even like you can't do anything because of the
Right.
heat?
Well, yeah, I've had flights canceled because of the heat.
Dang. Because like the big Phoenix the Phoenix issue that was because of heat. That's interesting.
Yeah. I don't know. Have you ever flown in general aviation? I think you did, like a couple times. You told me.
I did, yeah, once or twice. I'm not like like you where I wasn't even a pilot. I was just sitting there flying with the
Right. Yeah.
guy who was flying it.
If you ever flown in the summertime, you'll know that it gets pretty hot in them planes.
Do you guys not have AC in them, or?
No.
Just
no
open a window, man. Just open a window.
Well, the thing is, if you're overheating, you just climb to a higher altitude because the air is cooler the higher up you go.
Okay,
All right, Matt, you got us something?
Oh, okay, Matt.
Nothing yet, but I'm gonna leave because I can't really mute you guys. So I'll be back maybe 1 to 2 minutes.
Okay. Daniel, I've heard it say that if you turn off the propellers, they're the ones that control the air conditioning, because when you turn them off, you see a pilot sweat.
Yeah,
I don't know if that's the.
well, sometimes, yeah, the propeller is like a big thing for AC. Well, not AC, but just kind of a big fan on the ground. Yeah, windows is all you got. And then in the Techno P92, we actually don't even have air vents. So we have just little windows on the sides we open up. So it's even less than like a Cessna, for example.
That's so cool though that you can open up a window during a GA flight like that.
Yeah, well, in the Technum, it's not a full window. It's just like a little air vent in the side.
Right. And I've seen photos of that.
Yeah, in a Cessna 172, or just saying that one, there's a full open window. So you can actually like reach your hand outside. It's pretty cool.
That's interesting. Yeah. Dang. See, and like I've discussed. I'm more into the commercial aviation side of flying, but there are times when what you do kind of grabs my attention, and maybe one day I'll be more interested in getting a private license.
Yeah, for sure. But you just love the standing in security lines type thing.
Well, see, that's always been the magic of flying. Because I mean, ever since I was 2 years old, that's I'm so used to that. Because my family used to fly once or twice a year, so security lines, TSA people, airplanes, jet fuel, airports, all that was actually kind of a regular part of my life. And now since we transitioned over to Southwest, we haven't been flying as much. So that's why I do a lot of my Frontier joyrides, is because I miss.
Hold on. What did you just say there? You transitioned to Southwest? This can't be true.
Not me, my family.
Oh,
my
okay.
family and I were huge Frontier flyers until Southwest started like advertising good deals, and then when Frontier took their normal seats and transitioned them for the slim lines and took out like the TV monitors, stuff like that, my family was like, it's not worth going to Frontier anymore. We're gonna go to Southwest, and I was the only one left in my family who actually liked Frontier. That's why, like I was saying, that's why I do a lot of the joy rides I do with Frontiers, because I miss flying with them so much.
Okay. And yeah, hey there, Infinite Guy. Nice to see you here.
Infinite Guy, welcome aboard. If you have any questions, feel free to drop them below. Michael, I can just say Mike, whenever you don't have to be formal. Mike, my old friend, go ahead and drop a question below if you have any.
Absolutely.
Okay, and I know for those listening that I actually don't know how long. I think it's about 35 minutes. We've been talking about real world aviation without even brushing up on Infinite Flight or anything. And I know a lot of you guys maybe wanted to hear our certain opinions on Infinite Flight. So thank you for holding with us this long. It was just a huge event over the weekend that I wanted to tell Daniel and Matt kind of for the first time to get their genuine reactions. And as you can see, that's kind of worked. We already ditched Matt, so it worked in my opinion. All right, moving on though to Daniel. While we wait for Matt, go ahead and describe, because you did talk about this with me and you kind of talked about this with Matt. Go ahead and describe what your plans are for the YouTube channel.
Okay, so basically, I've just been trying to expand what I'm actually doing on the channel. So I'm looking for ideas for videos. So if anyone here has ideas, please drop a comment below. I'll be looking for it. You can also talk to us on the forums, DM Robert or me, really anyone. We're always open for new ideas. So basically whatever I've already done, as you can see, I do Infinite Flight videos. I've tried doing some X-Plane videos, and I do not seem to be getting much reaction on some of those. So I'm kind of questioning on those. So let me know what you think of this. I realize we are here for Infinite Flight, but you also have to realize Infinite Flight is very limiting on certain aspects.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Unfortunately, yeah, as we wait for Global. Once Global is released, then, I may have a different concept of it. It will be amazing then.
and I thank you, and I continually thank you every day for being able to be our a Frontier YouTube guy. And if it wasn't for you, we legitimately would not have gotten this far.
I enjoy every minute of it. It's really fun, and I've even taken it beyond that with some of the pirate forums and stuff like that for our airline.
Yeah, and you do downplay your role, but seriously, dude, the Frontier channel, I seriously think is a big reason that we're even still around, because you create such amazing promos, you create good videos, and the channel is kind of like it's sort of bonding its own community at this point in time. We do have people who watch the videos. We're up to 63 subscribers, and I hope to see many more. So thank you a bunch, dude, for all you've done.
Yeah, anytime. I really enjoy it, as I said before.
All right, and
doesn't look like Matt has much progress with getting the archive.
That's unfortunately what I was afraid of, because the captain said it wasn't declared an emergency, so I don't know if there's anything interesting that would have been said, other than maybe Frontier Flight 245. Can we have a fire truck escort us to the ramp? Other than that, I'm not sure if there would have been anything, but I'm legitimately curious to see what he brings back, because until now I didn't even really realize you could bring up ATC feedback.
Yeah. If you go to liveatc.net, in the menu on the left, you can go down to ATC archives. You select a frequency, a Zulu time reference. As I said, it's in 30-minute increments. And then, so basically what he's doing is he pulled up the section of 30 minutes. He's trying to listen through that 30 minutes for your part. So that's kind of hard to find sometimes.
And that'll be interesting if he draws something up, because that was such a landing that I'm actually thinking there might be something there. Maybe just in like tower, our brakes are hot or something. We're gonna need a moment to sit here. Whatever goes on in a situation like that, I seriously think there might be some out there. So, is that Matt back?
Yes, it is.
All right, did you find anything, bud?
No, I searched the whole thing pretty much. I'll send it over to Daniel and you, but I can't find anything.
But you listened. Did you actually listen to it, or could you not find it?
I scanned through it, and actually they were landing 35 right at the time too.
Really?
Yeah, that's what it looks like.
Yeah, maybe you have the wrong archive up.
Yeah, I'll send it to you. Hold on.
Because I'm pretty positive we pulled out 35 left, because we didn't cross another runway before we got to the ramp. Like we taxied, and then we made a right across the taxiway, and then we continued straight all the way up to the terminal.
Okay. If I can bring up something off topic, we have a comment. It says doing live streaming for Infinite Flight. I think what you're referring to is like live streaming flying an Infinite Flight, because I've seen that on other channels. If that's what you're referring to, you might want to clarify on that. But I have done that in the past for event live streams.
Yes, we have.
Yes, and they turned out pretty good. In the future, I have plans of coming back and doing some of those. Just for the time being, I'm kind of taking a break from it, and as I said, expanding in other areas like real world aviation, other flight simulation videos. So I do plan on coming back to doing some of those.
Yes, and I do hope maybe once Global hits or something, we can get Daniel back into the whole live subscription. We can get him back doing some good old fashioned Infinite Flight videos. I just want to give a few shout outs there. Video Game Lord, welcome aboard. Snismo Kits, welcome aboard.
Don't welcome Video Game Lord. God, don't welcome him.
We welcome all, but I see that he had some issues there.
Not quite a nice comment.
Nismo Kit says Emirates first class is the best. Well, Nismo Kits, drop some proof of that, because I think Frontier Airlines first class is the best.
Try it. Yeah, good luck trying to convince Robert of another airline.
Like, I legitimately get like lightheaded when somebody suggests that some other airline is the best. Like,
Southwest is better.
Unfortunately, not when it comes from my staff, because I'm so used to it, I know how to shut it out. But like, we were getting ready to board, flying to Houston, and this older lady told a younger daughter, she's like, there's so much more organized over at Southwest. I knew we should have gone with Southwest. And the little girl said, oh, why? And she said, because Southwest is like so much better. The only reason we're flying Frontier is because of the price. And I was kind of standing there clenching my fist like, lady, that's not how it works.
Well, they're still flying it, so.
Well, I know, and they had a zone. They got to board early because they board kids under the age of 3, families with that, and I guess the girl was under the age of 3 or whatever. But so they got to board first. They were the first people on, and they were still complaining about how they handled the boarding process. So I don't know if any airline boards me first, I'm not complaining about any boarding process.
I don't think they know how airlines work.
Exactly.
Although Southwest is better.
Well, I kind of like their boarding process, but I know a lot of people who don't like their boarding process because it's like basically it's a free-for-all buffet.
Bring the gun.
No, let's not. Anyway,
I'm probably on the TSA watch list now.
If you weren't before, you definitely are now.
Yep.
But that would also be insinuating that we have a TSA representative listening in, which of course isn't unreasonable. Anyway, Infinite Guy.
This means that they're watching us, and it's kind of creepy. Go on.
Yeah, so keep it down. Infinite Guy, I did want to tell you that we do not have a Discord. I mean, technically we have a Discord account, but we never use it because Discord was always buggy for me at best. And that's why we transitioned.
We do have a Slack, though.
We have a Slack. So if you're willing to fill out that application form and we can give that to you at some point in time and join us on Slack, we'd greatly appreciate it. And he says the best airline in 2017 is Qatar, which I'm either hesitant to believe or I'm surprised because Qatar and British Airways are kind of in trouble at the moment. So
yeah. Emirates was rated the best, I heard.
Did you see that Pittsburgh International, though, has been rated the best airport in the world?
Really?
A United States airport was voted over places like Hong Kong.
No way.
Or London Heathrow. I know. If you look up Simply Aviation, the channel, he did a tour of Pittsburgh, and he was given all these facts about Pittsburgh. And one of the facts was, in 2017, Pittsburgh has been voted the #1 airport in the world. And then he himself even said, because he flies in Europe, so he has a very like Scottish, Norwegian accent, and he was kind of going along there saying, and I'm surprised that an American airport even grabbed that, because usually, American airports aren't known for their luxury or their niceness. But Pittsburgh apparently is up there.
American airports are what they're supposed to be. They're supposed to be like a bus stop. You're supposed to go there to get stuff done, not to hang out and eat like a fancy hotel.
Airports?
It's a place where planes park. It's not a place where you go to fine and dine.
That's why I don't know why airports are voted that way. But
yeah, I mean, even though MSG is rated one of the best, it's not democratic or anything, but.
Yeah,
although I'd be happy with. I mean, so if we went to Fort Lauderdale for vacation, I'm pretty sure we all know that story. I'm not going to go over the awful horror story of my vacation again. but anyway, so and this guys in chat one too. But anyway, so what ends up? So we went to Fort Lauderdale, and the airport. I thought it was a pretty. It was an average airport, but my family was like, "Oh, this is the worst airport ever." I'm just like. It's a Class Charlie. It's small. Deal with it.
We flew on a charter airline way back.
No. Hold on. And so the parents were, and so my parents were like, "What's a Class Charlie?" I'm like, "You're not my parents."
I don't know. You start walking away from them. Oh, I just met him on the plane. We were just talking. I don't know him. But yeah, we flew regional once, and we landed. My cousin was like, man, this is a huge airport, and it was like the size of Aspen.
Which airport?
I don't remember. It was it was some airport in California along the coast, but it was about the size of Aspen Pitkin. It was a tiny little regional airport, which didn't serve anything like. I mean, the Beechcraft might have been the biggest, like, quote, commercial aircraft that flew out of there, or maybe like a CRJ or something. It was extremely small, even for regional jets. But he thought it was a huge airport because he'd never been flying before. I was like,
Atlanta.
dude, don't ever go to LA or Atlanta or Denver or Orlando, or basically don't go to any Class Bravo airport. But to Nismo Kit says they have fancy showers, good food, good service, and it's very, very expensive. That's you had me until you got to the expensive part, and in my book, the best first class is the first class I can afford.
I know. I will always prefer one of my country's airlines, so like not British Airways, maybe British Airways, because they're more Western. Like Eastern Airlines, like any Chinese airline, any Middle East airline, any Indian airline, anything that's not really very mainstream or American, I do not want to fly on. That's just me. This is more of I want to fly in. What are you doing? Are you fapping?
Continue.
So, I really like to fly on airlines I'm used to with them comfortable with. So like American, with like Delta, like Southwest. I'm very hesitant to try new things when it comes to that type of thing, especially when it's expensive.
Exactly, and I've been looking at fares with United and American and Delta, and I'm very hesitant to spend the amount they're requiring just for a one-way trip. Like, I thought it would be cool to fly United, Denver to San Francisco, and then fly Frontier back, so I wouldn't feel like I'm cheating on Frontier. But their prices, man, it's like $96 one way for a United ticket, where Frontier has it for like $39 to $49. So their prices, man. Anyway. All right, we're going to start wrapping it up shortly here. We have pulled this podcast episode out kind of longer than I expected. I was thinking we wouldn't have very much, but again, I did kind of ramble on. For those of you who are sad we didn't get to Infinite Flight related discussions, I apologize. But this podcast, again, and you can find it on the actual podcast thread in the forums, we are not a strictly Infinite Flight podcast. We do talk about outside stuff. So thank you. Or explained. It depends. If you would like to hear more Infinite Flight talk, you can certainly tune into our next podcast, which I hope will also be a live podcast. And I don't know the date. I actually am starting college next week, so I have no idea when I'm going to have free time. So it's going to be a bit of a juggle battle to try and find an actual suitable
Roberto, time. What's your major?
Yeah. Just currently general studies, because I didn't even have to go to college, and it would have been so much cheaper. But apparently, if you're trying to be a flight attendant with college experience, you get a lot more favor looked upon you. And apparently, and I'm drawing this in air quotes, statistics show that people with some sort of college background, there's like a 50% chance, or a 50% higher chance that you'll get accepted if you have some sort of college. So I was just like, shoot it, I'll do it.
And in 4 years, 4 or whatever years you leave, you're done with college and you go to the Frontier. And if you go to Minneapolis, you better come visit me. I'm serious.
I don't know if you saw the photo I shared, but I actually, while I was walking through the terminal, I saw the Minneapolis flight, and I was like, dang, I really wish I was on that flight.
It'll take a little bit convincing to get my parents to let you in, but I would convince them.
Yeah, but then I'd have to do some convincing on my own end to my parents, because they're kind of more the old-fashioned. They don't like me hanging out with people I've never met before, or they've never met before. So,
I'm sorry, Mike. Old people do not understand the internet that well.
Yeah, Mike. We don't mean to be insulting, but we're going to insult you, Mike.
Understand how, even though we've never met in real life, we are very, very close friends.
Oh yeah, I think everybody in Frontier Virtual Airlines is or at least everybody who's active consistently. We have grown quite close to each other, and I legitimately don't know what I would do if for some reason I quit Frontier Virtual and I quit Infinite Flight.
Yeah, I don't know
what I'd do.
I would feel very empty.
I don't know what I would do either.
Okay, and so speaking of friendliness, so I'm gonna read out some stuff from a PM with Drew.
Go ahead.
With Drew, whatever. So
This is going to be interesting.
yes, it is. Okay. Okay.
I think what
Okay.
you're trying to tell us is that Drew doesn't talk.
Okay. so I don't know if you noticed, but Drew has his profile picture as my old as my old YouTube channel, Epic Nat 2013, which is kind of a Frontier meme now. To the point, I think yeah.
Thanks to Daniel.
Yeah, that was all on me.
It went from Robert being spooky to me and Epic Nat 2013. Okay.
I'm so glad my meme died.
Now
Okay.
it's all Matt now.
Okay, so
It's all Matt.
His profile picture is just like my really old profile picture from Epic Nat 2013. So I messaged him asking, "Do you want to die?" Guess what he responded with?
Go kill yourself.
Actually, yeah.
That he stole that line right out of your mouth,
Well,
brother.
what I was looking through the channel earlier. So Epic Mac 2013 was subscribed to me. So I pulled up the profile picture, like direct link,
God damn
and
it.
shared that.
That was you?
Yeah, didn't you see it in off topic? And then
I don't read off topic because off topic.
So
Oh my
yeah,
God, I found it.
Matt's now become a meme in our airline for everybody who's listening.
Yeah,
Feel free whenever you see him on the forum.
I'm getting you back.
Yeah, I think it's finally time that Daniel gets turned into a meme. He's turned all of us into a meme. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, Nismo Kids, 18,000 is like 100 flights Frontier. Yeah, bro, that's why I fly Frontier. I don't have 18K to spend on first class. Infinite guy, I do take appreciation in your offer to help us with our Discord server. At this point in time, I do not have any plans on continuing Discord. So if you'd like to join us in Slack, maybe talk it out with us, convince me, I'm completely open to it. And again, for those of you who are listening, if like what we're talking about is weird, it's because you're not part of the Slack. I highly encourage you, even if you don't want to fly Frontier Virtual. Just join us in Slack. We're one big family. We talk about the craziest things. It's a blast being able to look down and being like, man, I can't believe that I get to be the CEO of this airline. It's such a great.
Our off topic is like actually always on some kind of drug, and the drug changes every day. Like
sometimes I don't even know how we came up with the topics we come up with there.
I know exactly how. Drew happened. I call him Drew. What the heck?
I call him Drew Poo, but yeah, Drew sounds better.
I call him Drew Poopy.
And I'd like to just make the call that Drew was supposed to be on here with us tonight. He couldn't make it, and our other podcast guest, Mike, who I believe still listening in, he couldn't make it either. He's listening in the car wherever he's going. So we're sorry that you guys couldn't make it with us. We do look forward to getting you on board in the next podcast. And for those of you who want to join Frontier Virtual and you want to find out how to do that, pull out pen and paper now, and you can find our website at Frontier Virtual Airlines if.weebly.com. No spaces, all lowercase. You'll find the applications link in that website. Once this turns into a video, you can always just rewind and go back and listen to that again. But it's Frontier Virtual Airlines if.weebly.com. And we'll meet you in the Frontier Slack. And again, thanks Matt for taking all that work trying to figure out the ATC transcripts. I'll take a look at them myself. I legitimately think we landed 3-5 left, so now I'm kind of scratching my head. I'll go back and look at that. So thanks for that help. And we are pulling up to an hour's time. I really apologize. Our live streams are supposed to be about 40 minutes because our normal podcasts are about 20 minutes. And we were thinking, just double the podcast because we're only doing it once a month or so. So thank you guys. Nismo Kits. Oh, and thanks for Matt for putting that in the chat. Nismo Kits, Infinite Guy, Mike. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. The questions you guys asked really means the world that you guys were interested enough to ask them. So thank you so much for that. And I hope to see you in the next one. If you find us on the Infinite Flight forum, We will be announcing the live streams from now on about a week in advance. So you'll get a lot of notice and you'll be able to tune in. Any last statements before we make this a 60-minute podcast instead of a 40-minute, guys?
Yes, if I may add something. If you know someone or if you are in an aviation career, just let us know, and we may let you on the podcast. It'd be fun to have you.
We love hearing your story, and so maybe if you've had a very interesting event with an airline like almost crash landing, we'd love to hear that as well. You can again fill out that application, and then once we meet you in Slack, you can give us your story, your spiel as to why you should be on the podcast. Not to make it seem like we're such a high esteemed podcast that we have to do this screening process. No, we just want to make sure our content is interesting enough. Matt, did you have anything else?
Nope.
All right, then if you're new to this channel or you are a returning listener, we would appreciate any support you can give us, including liking that button, the like button, and subscribing. Every bit of support you give us means the world, and I legitimately mean that, guys. The questions you give, just being there, watching the live chat, just being there and seeing you guys, interact with each other, interact with us. It reminds me of it makes me humble, and I like that feeling. I like being able to think, man, these people actually took time out of their day, out of their evening, wherever you are, day, evening, to watch us, and that's just so humbling. So thank you, guys. This has been your Frontier Virtual Podcast with your host, Infinite.flight, and Matt. And that was Daniel joining us. For those of you who don't know, he is our YouTuber here. He's usually behind the screens. He doesn't usually talk, but I convinced him, and he kind of convinced himself to join up. And I really appreciate everything he's done, and I'm glad that he was able to join us today. For your enjoyment and comfort, please remain seated with your earphones in until this episode has come to a full and complete stop. If you'd like to find the links to our website, you can check the live chat before the stream ends, or you can find us on the Infinite.flight forums. Just search up Frontier Virtual Airlines, and you can find our main thread. Our link to the website should be there as well. Or just if this is when this turns into a video, just rewind back and find that. Again, if you require any assistance in anything, please remain in your seat until all other passengers have deplaned the comment sections. One of our crew members and staff will then be pleased to assist you. On behalf of this airline and all staff on board with us today, I humbly thank you for tuning in, asking those amazing questions, dropping that like button, and supporting us. I'll see you all in our next live stream episode that'll be airing in September. This is the Frontier Virtual Podcast, saluting you and wishing you all clear skies and smooth landings.